Welcome to this episode of Elements to Elevate by 180 Elevate. Each month, we laser focus and dig deeper into an area of leadership which we truly believe is an element to uplift our perspectives and humanity. From insights to action, the path to elevate your mind, body, and soul starts here. In today's episode, we have Nikki Sharp. Nikki is an internationally known wellness expert, health coach, and a lifestyle blogger who has sold over 100,000 ebooks. By simply shifting one's focus and celebrating all the foods that can be eaten, as opposed to fixating on the foods that cannot be eaten, she ignites a positive outlook on eating clean. Formerly an international model, Nikki's own health journey led to become passionate about helping others create a balanced and fulfilled life through food, exercise, and spirituality. She's now a well-known motivational speaker, best-selling author, and a life coach. Welcome, Nikki. Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
Thank you so much. The last 2 years have left everybody a little overwhelmed, a little exhausted, even if you're doing generally well. We as a collective have gone through a fairly shattering time. What does healthy look like to you, and how would you define it?
A great question to start off with. You're so correct in that the world has been flipped upside down, and everything that we thought we knew about health has been completely turned, and everything that we're having to unlearn, let's say, and relearn has given us all an opportunity to see what behaviors and patterns no longer serve us. And so I actually think that the pandemic, although hard, has been one of the greatest gifts because it's really helped us all to see what health really means. And so many people were not focusing on it before, whereas now many more people are aware of it. And that's why we're having these conversations. So for me, healthy is balance. Mm-hmm. I have gone so far on both, the swinging and the polarity of being raw vegan and super strict. And that's what I used to think healthy was, working out 7 days a week. And then I've gone the other way of binging for so long because I was restricting. And at the end of the day, I've found the balance in the middle, which allows me to not feel guilty if I eat a piece of pizza and be able to go out and enjoy wine with friends. And without the restriction, I'm able to do things because I love myself and I love my body, rather than doing things because I hate my body. And I think that's one of the best places that people are starting to learn now, is that it's an opportunity to see, why do you do the things you do and how do you want to change your life?
Beautiful. I just love how you come from that place of vulnerability and authenticity. I think that's one of the biggest qualities of a good leader. And I know, we talked before that you yourself suffered from body dysmorphia, mental health, while you were coaching health. So what were your key takeaways on your journey?
Another great question. Thank you for asking this. What I find so interesting is that many coaches and wellness experts and doctors even will start teaching the thing that they're still going through themselves. So let's say someone's going through an autoimmune disorder and it's what propelled them to learn about nutrition or about understanding the body and functional medicine. While they're still going through that journey, they're also then sharing the knowledge they have. And so I think it's a fallacy that says, you need to be 100% healed of something in order to share it, because we're always going through something greater. And so from my end, I fell in love with nutrition from day one that I started learning about it. And it never was supposed to be a profession when I started this. It really wasn't. It was a way for me to heal myself, exactly, and to keep myself accountable. So I started an Instagram account. I posted food photos of food I would make, literally as a food diary for myself. And through that, I inspired other people. And so in this journey, some of the big things that I've learned is that we're all going through something at any given moment. Mm-hmm. And if someone looks at me and they think, whoa, you have it all together, yeah, I might be wearing a nice blazer and jewelry and I have my hair back and, and my skin looks clear, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going through something emotionally today, or I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or I got in a fight with a friend, or, whatever it might be, or I'm just feeling crunchy internally. And so I think one of the greatest gifts and lessons that I've learned in this journey is to have so much compassion for every human being, because you have no idea what they're going through. And an example of this is my wedding is coming up in a few months. And for my bachelorette party, we're having a Zoom video call for all the girls to get to know each other tomorrow. And one of my friends messaged me and said, I'm not feeling good. I'm having a rough time. And I just don't know if I want to make it on the call because I don't want that to be their first impression. Wow. And I said back to her, I hear you, and you do you, if that's what serves you. Just to let you know, this girl is going through this girl is going through that, she's going through that. I've also had some stuff. I've been offline for a few weeks, right? I'm going through my own inner journey. And so I think that we forget that there's always something that each of us is going through, and just to have compassion and empathy. That's one of the biggest lessons. And another one that I learned along this whole journey is that your dreams, they're going to shift. They're going to change. And what you thought you would be doing 10 years ago is not what you're necessarily doing. And that's okay. Because 10 years ago, when I started this, I was doing this all selfishly for me, to heal me. And now I do what I do to help other people. But there's been times where I lose my passion. There's times where I launch a program and it doesn't sell out and I have to shift. And so instead of looking at things like a failure, like, oh, that dream was a failure, maybe it just was the wrong time for it. Maybe it was a great program, but I just didn't have the right marketing for it. Maybe it was too expensive. Maybe. And so instead of getting down on myself, I just am constantly learning and growing and evolving to see what can I do differently next time. And through that, sometimes the dreams change. So those would be the two biggest things. I mean, there's many, many other lessons though.
It's beautiful because compassion, first and foremost for your own self, and then for the others around, and then you evolve. And like you said, you might not be the person you were yesterday, but you meet yourself and accept yourself where you are today. And then you move it ahead from there. And again, no mistakes, only lessons, only experiences, and what a journey. And what I love about your programs, because I'm in one of them myself, is you build community. My aha moment in one of your classes recently was, we're more alike than not. A lot of things that people were sharing was about, they thought they were the only ones feeling that way. And bringing that community of like-minded people together, to me, is one of the biggest gifts you're giving to your clients and to people. And the more you share, the more you learn, the more you learn, the more you can give. So that's beautiful.
Thank you. And just to touch on that, first off, I'm honored that you're in one of the programs. And it's what I find so incredible about this work that I get to share is I get a range of 25-year-old women, or those who just graduated college, up to 55, 60-year-old women in the program, some divorced, some with kids, some with husbands, some not, some single, some widows. I have those who are just starting their careers. Those are in the middle of their careers. And, when we talk about trying to narrow down and find your niche, and that was my whole career, branding agencies and marketing agencies, and all of these people kept saying, you need to niche down. You need to, and I'm saying, I can't, because I have all of these women that feel compelled to get in a group that you're in and share. And at the end of the day, I know that me being vulnerable and sharing what I do, whether it's about my life or the example of, my bridesmaids, is it gives someone else permission to also share. And sharing and being vulnerable is actually where we get connection to one another, because if I'm going through that, there's an immediate bond. Yes. And so once we realize that actually so many women are going through something similar, we can open up, and through that comes healing. And then once we have healing, then we have friendship. Yes. And so I do find all of that. It's just, I love creating community. So thank you for being part of it as well.
For sure, because what I felt was everybody is holding space for each other. And when you hold space for the other person, you come from that, there's more self-love, which of course you're a great proponent of your own self, because unless your own cup is filled, you can't do anything for anyone else. And from that place of self-love, then you can show up better for your family, for your friends, for everyone else. So I also read that you went on a soul sabbatical recently. So I'd like to share your self-love journey a little bit so that it gives the others, our listeners, permission to do the same.
Yeah. So the soul sabbatical, I haven't talked too much about it because I am turning it into a book. So the book in essence is going to be like Eat, Pray, Love meets Eckhart Tolle with a sprinkle of Sex in the City. That's kind of what my year-long soul sabbatical was like. And how that came about was, and I won't go into too much detail. It's a long story, but the long short of it was my second book was coming out, and my now ex-boyfriend asked me, what's your best case and what's your worst case scenario for this book? And I said, well, best case is, it becomes New York Times bestseller. I get on all the popular TV shows and then I moved to Paris. And I said, worst case is it doesn't sell that much. I do a few shows, but not as many as I want. And I still moved to Paris. And so what I realized was it didn't really matter how the book did. Moving to Paris was what my soul was asking for, or my higher self. And so I sold all my furniture, put the rest of just little bits and bobs in a $35 a month storage unit. So it wasn't a lot. And I moved to Paris for the summer. And then I moved back in September. And it was a really big journey that was kicked off by going there. Then I joined Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, which, we traveled all over the world at the time. And this was all the year before COVID started. And then I went to Bali, ended up living there for a few months. And during this time, I was going through a deep, let's say, I think this is the wrong word, but it's the first word that I'm trying, osmosis, but I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm thinking about like a caterpillar.
Time.
Exactly. And just the full transformation. And I'm still transforming. And I feel like my old self needed to crawl into this cocoon, which was really dark and really tough. And from the outside world on Instagram in 2019, if you followed me, my life looked great. And it was, right? I'm living in Paris. And I say that Paris is the best city in the world to be lonely because it triggers everything, every part of you. It triggers the fact that you're not go working. It triggers you that they love to be coupled up. It triggers you that you're in these beautiful, locations and you don't have someone there. And so it brought about everything that needed to come up and start getting healed without knowing it, because from the outside is that quintessential story that we know. I had it all, right? I had the 2-book deal from Random House. I had a #1 app. I had lots of followers on Instagram. I had it all. I was on TV, magazine covers, all of that. And I was miserable. And so you realize success is not the thing that makes you happy. And you have to go on that cliche inner journey that we all know. And so the journey that I ended up taking was this, 2-year really, where I crawled into this cocoon without knowing it. And I didn't crawl out of it until really September of last year. So September 2021 is when I finally started emerging from it, being like, oh, like when the butterfly starts to come out and it puts its legs out really softly. It's like, what's going on? And that's really how I felt. So through that, I learned a lot about that it's okay to take a step back, and it's okay to not go, go, go. And it's okay to not know the answer. And not only is it okay, it's actually what's needed, because when we don't know, we create space. And from that creating space, answers come. That's why we meditate. But I just did a prolonged 2-year version of it. And, if someone's thinking, oh, well, you had the savings, the money. I did not have a ton of savings. I did not have all of these things. I took a leap of faith and I trusted my intuition. And I really had to work myself from the ground up and start fresh on everything. So anyone can do this. It just takes courage to trust that you're okay to take time off.
And really paying attention to your insights, where you're really listening to your inner voice.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about triggers and how you identify triggers, because end of the day, we can't control anything on the outside. Everything it starts and ends with us. I always remember Shakespeare when he said, the world is a stage. And you truly understand that at a deeper level as we evolve and as we go. So faith is one of the biggest keys that you gotta hold on to. And that's amazing.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about intention in eating or intention in food. How does that relate to what your work is all about?
When it comes to intentional eating and really intention behind anything that we do, it's having awareness to understand the choice we're making. So a lot of people talk about intuitive eating, right? This concept of how do you intuitive eat? Well, you eat based on what your body is telling you. But so many people don't know what those cues are, the hunger cues, because they go with emotional cues or they numb themselves, distract. And so intuitive eating is a little bit taking a back step and saying, am I making this choice because this is for my highest good? Or am I making this choice? Am I really angry right now? So it's just that pause. Yeah. I'd say, if anything, it's that pause before you then go and do the thing. It's not to put guilt on it. It's not to say you shouldn't do it. But if I'm feeling, let's say, really stressed out and I want to reach for a glass of red wine,
go for it.
It's just that pause before pouring the bottle and saying, am I doing this from a place because I've had a bad day? Or am I doing this from a place that I actually have had such a great day and I want to sit on my balcony and look at my view? And so it's really that pause. The intention is the pause before the decision. And then you can still make the decision. It's just now you're making it with intention. And so instead of kind of saying, oh, intuitive eating and what should I eat and all of that, it's that pause to ask yourself, is this my highest good? Or as we've talked about in the program, does this food make me feel light and energetic or heavy and full? That for me was a game changer of, does this make me feel light and energetic, this meal? Or eating this whole big, even if it's healthy food, right? Does eating this whole big portion of that make me feel light and energetic? Or will I feel heavy and full? So then I can say, well, let me just eat half of it. Mm-hmm. And then there's no restriction based on what I'm eating or why or all of that monkey chatter. It's just, do I want to feel light and energetic? And I personally do.
So simplifying it, basically, instead of rattling in your head and letting your mind take over, just take a step back, accept where it is. And if you allow yourself, then indulge and enjoy and make the most of the moment.
Exactly.
But, we're living in this age of deadlines and expectations. Everybody has a demand for you. So how do you establish boundaries?
We do live in a tough time right now. And one thing I have noticed is there almost seems to be a bigger sense of urgency right now than there ever has been. And so I share that because so many of my clients and friends and myself feel this. Anyone I talk to, it seems like it's like this go, go, go energy. I need to get it done immediately. And so once we have awareness that everyone is feeling this, the collective, we can choose, right? Intentionality, choose to step back. But when it comes to boundaries for me, I'm doing a month-long social media news detox. And that was a boundary I realized I needed to create based on I was kind of scrambling every day. It was like, I needed to post. And so the very word I need to do this made me realize, oh, I don't actually need to, I am choosing to. I try to help people understand how to create boundaries is if you have the word need in your vocabulary, then you change it, cross it out and say, I choose to. Okay, I'm choosing, like in the program, you've seen some of the girls, I'm choosing to check my email at 5 a.m. and start work. I don't need to, I'm choosing to. And then when you say, okay, that's my choice, is that your conscious choice? Is that your intentional choice? And so setting boundaries, in this crazy fast-paced world that we're living in, you have to put you first. And it's easier said than done. And it's actually leading after this program. I'm doing a 2-day workshop all about self-love and healing the relationship with yourself based on this, because we need to know it's okay to slow down and it's okay to say no. And so I help people also understand, if you say no to someone, what are you afraid of happening? Because boundaries, right? People in this day and age, we people please. And we say yes to things, and then there's resentment. And so I just take a step back and I say, what are you afraid of is going to happen? What are they going to say? Oh, they're going to be mad at me. Mm-hmm. Okay, let them be mad then. And so from my standpoint, and I think why a lot of the people in the group and my clients like me is I always say, I don't care if you like me. Mm-hmm. I really don't. But where that comes from is that I know that I'm giving my best version of myself to you. So if you don't like my best version because I'm taking care of myself, then there's something to work on. But I like you. So that's up to you then to decide why you don't like me in that moment, right? So it's all based on I take care of me first. And if I'm taking care of me and I show up with love and I'm here to be of service, then I know I'm setting the right boundaries. So those are the sort of things that questions people can ask themselves.
So it's essentially a shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You come from that place that we are doing the best we can at the moment. And in that aspect, actually, don't we also snap out of the whole victim mentality, where we're not putting our control on the other, though actually we're doing it for our own selves?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as we spoke about in the call from the program yesterday, I bring up topics that people sometimes don't like to talk about. So we went deep into victim mentality. And when I say that, it's such a subconscious thing that people don't even realize they're doing. But our society today, mm-hmm. they applaud victims. They applaud the victim mentality. And so people, no wonder they want to become a victim, because it's a subconscious acknowledgement of who you are as a person. And so I think that taking responsibility for your own life and setting boundaries and putting yourself first is hard. We've never been taught that, but that's the way forward. And that's, I think, one of the greatest shifts we're going to start seeing in the next couple of years is, instead of all these wellness-based juicing and smoothie cleanses and things like that, it's like boundary cleanses. I think that would be a better thing to do for health.
I think then you're really taking the weeds out instead of just kind of going the surface cleaning. You're literally going deep into the real issue behind the feeling of being a victim. I guess it's learning, and we've all learned in our journey. We've all accepted and say, okay, this is where I am. I need to move on. But as we're getting out of this pandemic, we're still in a pretty vulnerable state. So I believe in elevating our frequency. We all have our little toolbox. Do you want to share some of those?
Sure. I mean, I would love to know what's in your toolbox.
Yoga.
Yeah.
Yoga, waking up an hour in the morning before anyone else. I love my quiet time in the morning. I just love my work. I look forward to every single day going and meeting people. I look at my children with awe every single day. I look at them and I'm like, wow, what can I learn from them today? And like I shared one of my recent affirmations in the morning, where I'm allowing the universe to bring in some magic for me. I said, let me experience something magical today. And it's been amazing because every day that I'm consciously looking for things that bring me joy or looking for that magic, which I would have missed otherwise. So those are just some of the things in music. Oh my God.
Music. Yeah.
It's instant.
Yeah. So music for me, now that I live with my fiance, I don't so much because we share an apartment in both our offices here. But when I was living by myself, and something I need to get back into is I used to play music from the moment I would wake up until the moment I went to bed. And it was different music throughout the day. So it was like, I would take myself on a journey depending on what I needed. So thank you for sharing all of that. And I agree. For me, I ask myself, does this bring me joy? People think, okay, I need to get up at 5 a.m. and work out 7 days a week. And I would just say, does it bring you joy to do that? If it doesn't bring you joy, then maybe try to shift things around. But that question, does it bring me joy? Other things, journaling for me is a huge, huge one. And that's something I've been doing since 7 years old. And my mom she's kept all of my journals. And she said, every day I used to wake up and say, dear journal, today I woke up. Next day, dear journal. And she was like, it was so precious because it's like subconsciously I was acknowledging waking up today. Yeah. So journaling is a huge one. And I like to let whatever's in the monkey mind just out on paper. And then I let it go. I don't try to analyze it, but I get it out. Exercise is a huge one for me. And I don't exercise every day. Sometimes I do 5 minutes of abs. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll go for a 10-minute walk. Sometimes I go for a run, sometimes yoga, whatever I'm feeling. That's a really big one. If I'm feeling stuck though, going for a run outside really helps me to just process and shift some of that, the stuck energy or the thinking. Those are really the biggest ones in terms of my self-care. I know that always get me back to things. One thing I will share though, is if I'm in a really bad spot or I'm feeling low, something that I learned during my second book when it was coming out was I had a friend who her mother had been re-diagnosed. So she'd had like stage 2 cancer, been re-diagnosed now with stage 4. And I had another friend who her grandmother, who was kind of like the matriarch of the family, was dying. And here I am with my book and I'm sitting there stressing. And that's not to say you can't compare your stress to someone else. But what it did teach me was that I can be of service in moments that I'm really stressed out, and it actually lifts me up. And so I would check in with both of them every day. Hey, honey, how are you? How are you? And when they would try to, they'll always say, I'm good. How are you? Right? People deflect the answer really quickly. And I'd say, no, but how's your heart today? How can I be here to support you? And so I learned through that when I am not feeling good, I actually need to be of service to other people. I need to reach out to my friends. I need to call my mom, and I need to actually give my full attention to you so that I get out of my own ego mind thinking. And that's also a form of self-care that most people wouldn't think of, but it helps me get back into gratitude really quickly, that I get to be of service, that I get to be a friend, that I get to help someone. And then it just helps me feel better.
For sure. I think service is a huge part in wellness. People don't understand that. For sure, you get out of your own ego consciousness, like you say. And it's kind of like you feel like you're a small speck in this whole spectrum of things. It just puts things in perspective so beautifully. I have a very similar practice. We have a women's shelter in our neighborhood. Anytime I'm feeling like, everything's so overwhelming, I just buy some groceries and I go give it there. And I look at them and I'm like, they just look so happy and they just look so grateful for it. And you just kind of take a step back and you're like, thank you. Like she says, no, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing again. I read somewhere in a book, which I truly believe in, and it said, when you give more than you get more than you give.
Oh my God, I love that. I've never heard that. You'll have to send that to me after.
I will. And it totally, like, it gave me that aha moment where I had to read it a few more times. And you, of course, can't do it from that place of getting, but the universe just manifests it multifold when you come. Again, it goes back to the intention. You go with the intention, this is what I intend doing, and it just never fails you.
Ever. That's profound and amazing. And one of those simple aha moments that I talk about is we, in life, we have these moments that radically shift your thinking of a situation, a person, yourself. And they're typically so very small and yet so profound. And I always encourage people in my programs after each call, what were your aha moments? What did you take away? What lessons did you get? Because we have to acknowledge those small but massive little lessons, little blips that we get, because those are the things that help us continue down the path that we're meant to go.
Beautiful. Couldn't agree more on that, because it's reinforcing in your own mind. And I am definitely going to get more just with the journaling. Journaling is a habit for sure that you need to develop over time. It's really hard initially when you do it, because you're like, okay, what do I write?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I need to get more and more. But again, I'll take a step back when I'm saying that, and I realized there's no need. And I loved when you talked about your toolkit, where you said, I check in with myself. Is that something that'll give me joy? So that was my aha moment for today.
I love that. And what I would say with journaling is most people overthink it. What do I write? There's a blank page. Oh my gosh. And why I love the blank page and what I work on with clients in my ultimate transformation program, which is the one-on-one program I do, is you have an entire binder with 8 or 9 sections with like 100 pieces of blank white paper. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the program, they are completely filled with your dreams and your fears and things that you want to work on and you're inspired to be, and all of these amazing things. And it all starts with a blank piece of paper. And so what I would say for anyone listening or watching is, if you don't know where to start with journaling, ask yourself, how do I feel today? Yeah. And just let it go from there. And then the last sentence you end on, you just read that back to yourself and you say, anything I want to add? Why am I feeling this way? So I kind of give myself like self-therapy through it, where I'll be like, what's coming up for me today? How am I feeling? What do I need for myself? What would bring me joy today? How can I make today amazing? So I just ask a bunch of different little questions, but any given one. And one thing I love is morning pages. And I forget the woman who created this, but it's where you take a journal, and I think it's like 3 big, pages she says to do. I like to do it a little bit differently, where I just write, but you just write stream of flow, or whatever the saying is, of consciousness, of just first thing in the morning, before you go get coffee, before you get up and start thinking, before you check your phone. So it's just, you write your dream, you just write whatever's on your mind. So that also helps a lot, as well as if people have a hard time sleeping, you can journal the night before of what's on your mind right before you go to bed.
So do you go back and revisit your journal sometimes?
Not really. The only time that I do is really like maybe a year later, just to see what I wrote back then, where I was at. And I always see that how much I've grown, but no, I don't, once it's there on the page, I don't need to go back to it. I call it word vomit. It's like if you actually throw up in a toilet, well, you want to flush it. It's gone, right? It's the same as all of what's getting written down is the mind. It's the chatter of the mind, of the ego. And that doesn't need to be revisited, because that's not coming from your highest self. That's coming from the monkey mind.
It's your soul detox in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Nikki. This was absolutely phenomenal. Enjoy every single time I'm with you, but thank you so much again.
Of course.
Hello, it's Emily here. I am so excited to be a part of the 180 virtual summit event and share with you some incredible insight on how you can get out of a slump in your life if you've ever had one. I don't know, maybe you're cool, maybe you're always on the up and up, but if you're anything like me, you know, I have been through so many slumps in my life, especially when I started my entrepreneur journey a decade ago. I found myself at a complete and total crossroads, and I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I just felt so low. Right. And maybe some of you can relate. Maybe this year has been a little shift for you, a pivot in your life, a pivot in the way you build your business, a pivot in how you do things. And, you know, this was me. This was my life 10 years ago. Before I started my business, I was at that crossroads. I had been in a horrible relationship that left me just feeling completely deflated. I didn't know what I wanted to do professionally. I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I just had that moment, and I always say it's like a Jesus take the wheel moment where you're like, enough is enough. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not really sure. Like, how am I going to get out of this? And, you know, for you, maybe it's a relationship loss or a gain, the way I like to look at it, or maybe it's a shift in your business and the way you're doing things, or trying something new, or, you know, finding a new health routine or whatever it is. And, you know, we all have these moments in our lives where we can either be broken from it, the loss of a job, loss of relationship, whatever, or we can be broken open and go, okay, what am I going to do from this? What does this mean for me? What can I learn from this? Who can I become because of this? How can I change? How can I grow? How can I shift my energy? And that's what I did 10 years ago at the age of 23. I made a decision and I started to learn simple tools and principles to increase my energy, increase my frequency. Now, today, you know, I'm fortunate, blessed to speak in front of thousands of people, lead massive teams, have a huge organization, love what I do. But I am just on a mission to share with you these simple things that I do day to day to keep my frequency high. And you may be thinking, what is she talking about? Frequency. Well, you may have heard the term vibration, right? Raise your vibration, good vibes. You know, frequency is really, you know, I like to look at it as is your true work in life is to keep raising your frequency, because everything in your life is the result of your frequency. It truly is the frequency that you're on. And so what that really means is when you have high energy, and I'm not really speaking about yelling and jumping up and down. Yes, those things are great, right? I love to do that from time to time, but when you have good energy, right? Have you ever met someone that just has great energy? You go to lunch with them, you meet them in the office, you bump into them, maybe it's just in passing and you're like, I don't know what they do or who they are. I just love it. I love what they're about. That's how you want to be. That's how I strive to live my life day to day. And yes, of course, I have horrible moments, but they're moments and they're not days anymore, and they're not weeks anymore, and they're not months anymore, and they're not years anymore, because I've learned how to shift my frequency. I've learned how to get out of a slump. So I love to look at this emotional guidance scale by Abraham Hicks. And, you know, I really, really want you to take a look at this and have, you know, really base understanding of our feelings, right? And we all have all these emotions all day long, right? You know, you look at the lower frequency emotions of fear, that, especially in 2020, a lot of us have lived in, or maybe most of your life, you are living in fear. Jealousy, right? You're in a certain business and you see other people crushing it, but you seem to be stuck. You have some anger issues against people in your life, what they did to you, and you just blame them, revenge, worry, disappointment. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're bored in your current life. That can happen where you do something for a while and you're like, this is boring. I kind of need a new challenge. Or maybe you're overwhelmed. These are all low vibes. And then we start to go upward, right? Let's look at, when we're positive. You're on this summit right now. It's like the good vibes are flowing. You're learning, you're growing, you're pouring into yourself. There's enthusiasm, there's passion. Is there passion in what you do? In finding passion in the small things, joy, love, appreciation, expressing gratitude. So all day long, we're oscillating between the upward spiral and the downward spiral. And the key is to recognize what is pushing me down, and it's to mitigate that, and it's to try to really live in an upward spiral of emotion. And people that live like that, people that have awareness, live a charged life, live a more fulfilled life, live a more joyful life. They attract more into their life. And so little key things that I do to stay on the upward spiral, and believe me, I work at this every single day, constantly, are the following. So number one, practicing gratitude. Right? This is so huge. You cannot feel fear or anger while feeling gratitude at the same time. So just, take a moment. If you're feeling frustrated, you get out of a meeting, you're feeling overwhelmed, to just sit and say, what am I grateful for right now? And just shout it out loud or say it to yourself. And you'll notice your heart starts to swell. You'll notice those negative emotions subside. Number two, love. Being in love, of course, is amazing. Loving people, it's the highest vibrating state we can be in. And it has the power to pull you out of a funk all day long. So calling someone that you love, expressing love, I love to start my day. And my first mentor taught me this, and just starting my day with, texting 3 people that I love, that I'm grateful for, and just telling them why. And it just makes my energy so high, makes me feel so good. Number 3, being generous. And it's not always being generous just with money. Yeah, it's great if you can do that, but it's with your time, generosity. What can you do for someone else? How can you reach down and pull someone else up? It's going to totally shift your state. Number 4, forgive. We could have a whole seminar on forgiveness, but when we blame other people, it's a low energy. So I just trade those expectations for appreciations. I've had to learn how to do this my whole life and not expect so much of people. And I just appreciate them. And I'm just generally surprised when people do awesome things. And that doesn't let me down so much. So just releasing that. Number 5, eating great food. It's vital, and it's not just to look good, right? Yes, we look at our skin is better, our gut is better, everything operates better. But when you have nutrient-rich foods, your prana-like foods, you're actually vibrating higher. So when I'm on the road, when I'm here in LA, it doesn't matter where I am, it's a priority for me to eat clean, to be healthy, so I can keep my energy high. And then moving on to that, keeping energy high would definitely be doing meditation, and start out with an app. If you are freaked out by this, I know that I'm a busybody. It's like sometimes hard for me to quiet my mind, but meditation, breath work. I've had so many breakthroughs doing breath work. It's so key. And then some more tips for you would to be, number 7, reduce that alcohol, the toxins, have your glass of wine here or there. But, if you're somebody that drinks every single day, like, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I'm going to suggest that you just change those habits to maybe once a week, twice a week. I find that it's a downer for me, and I want to stay frequency high. Number 8, think positive thoughts. What you think about becomes your future, that each thought you create, right? And so, this may seem super elementary, but do you actually think about what you're thinking about? Really? And I was working with a client on this, and I just said, set a timer on your phone twice a day to go off and say, what am I thinking about right now? What have I been thinking about the last hour? Has my thoughts been filled with worry and I'm making assumptions about things that aren't true? Or am I filled with gratitude and what I'm creating, right? And what I'm declaring for my future? If you declare nothing, you create nothing. You're in charge of that. Number 9, consume high vibe music. I love spiritual music. I love good music that just uplifts my spirits. That's how I connect to source, to God, every single day. I plug that in, good books, movies, all that stuff. I don't watch the news hardly ever. At all, because it's a downer for me. It fills me with all the low frequency vibrations. It totally does. Number 10, surround yourself with beauty. And this could even look like you cleaning up your house, cleaning out your closet, cleaning up all the stuff. I love to have a showroom house. And, yes, I like the way it looks, but I also love even more the way it makes me feel. It's clear. There's not a bunch of stuff everywhere. There's not clutter that's bogging me down. And then number 11, be outside as much as you can. Take a break from our smartphones that we're on, our Zooms that we're on, our technology. Just connect with you, connect with your heart, connect with source, connect with that energy. And that's where peace is. That's where true joy, peace is. For sure. And so if you're not grounding, if you're not taking off your shoes, and some of you may be watching this in cold climates, I get it. I'm originally from Minnesota. I live in SoCal now, but there was once a time in my life where I went through the winters. Do what you can. Sun's out, go take a walk, bundle up. It's vital. It's so key for you in your health. And number 12, make sure that your relationships are rich. Sometimes we're in a slump because of who we're hanging out with, because you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so be continually asking yourself that, does this relationship benefit my life? Is there an equal energy exchange? Do I feel rich from this relationship? Or do I feel like I need to take a shower after I'm with this person? So there's been trade-offs for me. I have let go of relationships, and instead I'd rather be by myself because it affects me that much. And I'm sure it does you too. So these are just 12 simple tips, my friends, where you can raise your frequency and you can shift. And when this happens, when you start to practice these things, you raise your frequency and unleash the leader within you. Whether you're leading your family, which we all are leading ourselves, we're leading our family, you're leading a business, you're creating an online environment, a charge, a community. We're all leaders here. And it's our responsibility to make this place, this earth, better than we found it, is my belief. And the best way we can do that is by first leading ourselves. And it's a fight every single day to raise your frequency, to be the person that walks in the room and everybody can feel or see that they're a little bit different. They vibe a little higher, right? They are just more conscious, more aware. It's a fight, but it is so worth it, because on the other side of that, you have more joy, you're more fulfilled, you attract more in your life. If you're in business, people want to do business with you. They don't even know what you do. They just want to be around you. And that, my friends, is living the charged life. So thank you so much. Such an honor to connect with you for this time, and enjoy the rest of the event. God bless.
Thank you for joining us today and elevating yourself. Charity should begin at home, but should not stay there. At 180 Elevate, it is our honor to support local and global philanthropies which make an impact on the lives of our beautiful children and the world in of itself.
What would this world look like if we all felt cared for? Let's co-create that new paradigm. If you would like to consider joining our philanthropic mission, please consider donating at 180elevate.com. And next is just a glimpse into one of the many philanthropies our organization supports.
It just takes one stable relationship with a caring adult to help reverse the negative impacts on a child who's experienced abuse or neglect. I'm California Surgeon General Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, and I've spent my career studying childhood trauma, toxic stress, and the profound impact on public health. Many children have been placed in the foster care system because of abuse or neglect, causing both physical and emotional pain. These adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, can also lead to lifelong health problems. But ACEs are not destiny. Studies have shown that just one supportive adult in the life of a child can reverse some of the negative impacts of ACEs. You have the power to make a difference. A court-appointed special advocate, or CASA, can help a child who has experienced abuse and neglect begin to heal from their past and build a healthier future. Find out how you can help